Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Tim, and I am hoping at some point in the future to run as the first openly atheist president. And I hope you'll share these videos if you appreciate them and their message. I'd like to think that when the time comes for us to have a greater presence on the political stage, that the message will already be far and wide. And if you think that this channel and others like it are sharing ideas that expose decency and civility and humanity and rationality, please do, again, subscribe, share them far and wide. We need to spread the word. We really do. But today, I'm going to be talking about some people just want to watch the world burn. Did you ever watch someone just light a fire, not to stay warm, not to cook, not to survive, but just to watch the flames, just to see what burns? You probably remember that line in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, about the Joker, where he says, some people just want to watch the world burn. And it sounds like a comic book thing, but it's not. It's real. It's political. It's presidential. And I want to talk today about how that's happening, specifically through Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't want power in order to lead. He wants power in order to dominate, and that's crystal clear. Should be crystal clear to everybody. He doesn't build, he destroys, and then he smiles while the rubble's still warm. He doesn't make decisions. He's all about causing reactions. He doesn't seem to believe in any truth. He just believes in noise. He's not a strategist. He's a fire starter. He didn't step into the White House with a vision. He walked into the White House with a match. Every institution was tinder. Science, burn it. Elections, burn them too. Because in his world, trust is weakness and division is fuel. He didn't just cast doubt on our democracy. He's tried to drown it in gasoline. He undermined the vote. He stacked the courts. He turned patriotism into cosplay and dissent into treason. He turned the pandemic into a punchline. He turned suffering into stagecraft, and he wore rage like a suit and chaos like cologne. He hasn't healed our country, he's mocked it. He hasn't united our country, he's inflamed it. He doesn't govern, he performs. And sadly, many people didn't just follow, they cheered. Because he didn't come alone. He came with echoes, with enablers, with networks ready to broadcast every spark. And he made loyalty the only real currency. He made cruelty a qualification. He said the quiet parts out loud, the parts he should have been ashamed of. And he said the loud parts even louder. He has flirted with fascism and called it freedom. He lifts up racists. He mocks the disabled. He belittles the grieving. And somehow he's gained applause. Sad as it is, crazy as it is. He has brought hate to the main stage. He has made division look patriotic. And he hasn't just polarized, he's fractured. He made neighbors into enemies. He's turned families into factions and facts into opinions. And through it all, he just smiles. Because he wasn't confused. He was exactly who he said he was. And he didn't light the fire alone. We as a country handed him the match. He's not the Joker. He's not a myth. He's a man. And men like that don't lead. They just burn. And some people just want to watch the world burn down. And others clap while they do. So the question isn't what he'll burn next. We know he'll keep burning stuff. The question is, will we let him? And there are moments in history that don't just test a nation, they expose it. Moments when the facade cracks. When the myths that we've told ourselves no longer hold, and when the polite lies that we whisper about who we are, what we stand for, what we could never become, they're stripped away by something so loud, so relentless, so unashamed, that denial becomes impossible. This isn't about left and right. This isn't about tax brackets or legislation. This is about the sickness beneath the surface, the one that smiles in the face of suffering, the one that calls cruelty strength, the one that confuses domination with leadership, and spectacle with substance. This is about what happens when a country mistakes entertainment for governance, when it forgets that power is not supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be accountable and measured and for the people and mature and moral. But morality doesn't trend. Accountability doesn't always get applause. What gets attention, what fills the arenas and floods your feeds, is fire, anger, outrage, division so sharp it cuts through truth like glass. This is the America that Donald Trump stepped into. And instead of trying to lead it out of the darkness, he fed it, he fanned it, he thrived in it. He didn't invent the chaos. He studied it, he tested it, he marketed it until it became the product. And he became the salesman of the day, and we all became the audience. Men like Trump don't rise in isolation. They rise in reflection. They are symptoms of systems, of silence, of slow national erosion that no longer wants to admit what is happening until it's too late. He didn't need policy, he needed performance. He didn't need vision, he needed volume. Because once he made everything about him, nothing else mattered. Not facts, not tradition, not people, not decency, not the Constitution. He has turned the presidency into a personality cult. And millions followed. Not because they necessarily believed in him, though some did, but because they believed in what he made them feel. He made them feel seen, heard, angry. And they were armed with the illusion of power, even as the country fractured beneath their feet. And some people want power to serve, others to change, but some just want to watch the world burn. Not because they hate the world, but because they love the feeling of being the one who lit the match. This is about that match, that fire, and everything that it's touched so far and keeps touching and will touch. This is about a man, but it's also about the culture that cheered him on, the institutions that surrendered, the silence that enabled, and the millions who mistook the collapse for a movement. This is just a monologue, but it's also a reckoning for all of us. This whole time frame, these 4 years, are going to be a huge reckoning, a confession, and a warning, because once you've seen how easily it can burn, you can never unsee it. And if we don't name it, if we don't own it, it will happen again. Louder, faster, worse. Because this kind of fire will never die out on its own. Donald Trump doesn't want power for a purpose. He wants it for the thrill. For him, power isn't a means to lead, it's a spotlight, it's a rush, it's a narcotic. He doesn't dream of legacy, he doesn't care about that. He dreams of dominance, of being talked about, of being watched. Every headline feeds him. Every scandal strengthens him. He doesn't care why you're saying his name, only that you are. He is addicted to the spotlight, because in his world, infamy is more seductive than integrity. He doesn't build, he destroys, and then he blames the rubble on someone else. He knocks down the house, and then he hands you a hammer and says, "Wasn't me." Policies? Those are for people with plans. He deals in wreckage, tangible, televised, monetized. Every broken system becomes a stage. Every ruined norm becomes applause. And when the dust settles, he doesn't mourn what's lost. He counts the ratings. He thrives on our confusion, not on our clarity. Clarity is dangerous to a man like that. It demands accountability. Confusion is his kingdom. When the truth is murky and the facts are foggy, that's when he's strongest. Because in that fog, you start to doubt your eyes and your ears and your gut, and that's when he strikes. That's when his team strikes. He floods the zone with lies so fast that you can't keep up. You stop trying to keep up. You start to think maybe everyone is corrupt. Maybe everything is broken. And when nothing feels real, he can sell you anything. He's weaponized division like gasoline, lighting matches every time we try to come together. Unity is his enemy, because when we stand together, we see him clearly for what he is, a monster. But when we're shouting at each other, he fades into the background, just another face in the fire. He doesn't argue policies, he provokes fights. He doesn't solve our problems, he multiplies them. He doesn't care what side you're on. He just wants you to choose one and hate the other. Because if we're at each other's throats, then we're not looking at the hand that's setting the fire. There's no end goal. Just the spectacle of collapse. This is not a 5-point plan. There's no doctrine. There's no grand design, despite the Project 2025 documents that we're all so fearful of. This is just about the thrill of watching it all come undone. He isn't trying to fix America or save America. He's just trying to flip the table. He doesn't want compromise. He wants conflict. He doesn't care about progress. He wants protest. He doesn't dream of our unity. He dreams of fire that gets bigger and bigger and bigger because fire is easy. Building takes vision. Burning takes seconds. And he knows the cameras never look away from a blaze. Especially when the man holding the match keeps smiling. Donald Trump has repeatedly torn down people's trust in elections. Not to fix them, but to make you doubt everything. He doesn't want better voting systems. He wants disbelief. If you don't believe in the process, then truth becomes negotiable. If every outcome is suspect, then no loss is ever real. And if no loss is ever real, he never has to admit failure. That's the goal. Not fair votes, not secure ballots, just permanent suspicion, because suspicion is a form of control. He undermines science, facts, the media, experts, because facts get in the way of his fire. Science says, here's the truth. And he takes it and says, fake news. Experts say, here's what we know. And he says, I know more than the generals. Because if the truth has weight, then his lies can't float. So he tries to dismantle truth itself. And he turns knowledge into elitism. He turns caution into cowardice. And suddenly the doctor is the enemy. And the loudest voice in the room becomes king. This man, this monster, treats the Constitution like a napkin at a fast food joint. It's disposable. It's greasy. He waves the flag with one hand and wipes his mouth with the Bill of Rights on another. Checks and balances? To him, they're just speed bumps. Oversight? That's just noise. Impeachment? A badge of honor, not a warning. He doesn't read the Constitution. He sees it as a suggestion, a mere suggestion, a set of rules to ultimately ignore, to twist, or to shatter, depending on the crowd. Checks and balances? He has just laughed at them. He didn't want co-equal branches. He wanted rubber stamps. He has used the Justice Department like a personal defense team. He has expected the courts to kiss his ring and to kiss his ass, not to question his orders. He's treated laws like walls, made to be broken through or bought. Donald Trump doesn't believe in service. He believes, again, in spectacle. He didn't really take an oath. He took a stage. This man did not inherit a democracy. He hijacked one. Because institutions don't mean anything to him unless they serve him. And if they don't, he lights them up, walks away, and says, it was broken before I got here. This is not a man who respects the United States or the system of government and the rule of law. This is a man who believes that he is the system. A man who says arrogantly, only I can fix it. And then he breaks it and makes it worse. Not by accident, not by incompetence, but by design. Because when nothing works, when no one can be trusted, when all the walls are crumbling, that's when he seems to think he stands tallest. Not as a leader, but as the last man laughing in a house that he set on fire. Donald Trump doesn't just tolerate hate. He has invited it repeatedly to the main stage and given it the spotlight. He doesn't dog whistle. He blows an air horn. He doesn't hide behind veils. He stands in front of flags and he fuels fires. He's not stumbling into controversy. He's orchestrating it. He's pulling the strings, watching the outrage rise. And then he calls it winning. Because the louder we scream at each other, the less we hear ourselves think. And when the thinking stops, blind obedience, blind following begins. He has fueled racism, misogyny, xenophobia, because nothing sets a fire like friction. And he doesn't just unleash it, he organizes it. He knows the fears. He knows the wounds. He knows exactly what buttons to press, and he presses them hard. He gives people permission to hate proudly, loudly, unapologetically. He gives them a leader who says the things that they were told to keep to themselves because they're inappropriate and wrong. And suddenly the quiet parts, they're not just loud. They're actual policy. What an absolute nightmare. He doesn't lead a party. He runs a cult. And this isn't politics, ultimately. It's performance art dipped in grievance. There's no platform, and this is just loyalty, blind loyalty. There's no principles. This is just about allegiance. You don't follow him because you agree with him. You follow him because he says what you wish you could say. He speaks in absolutes. He reduces nuance to slogans and complexities to blame. And blame becomes the language of the land. He's not making America great. He's making Americans hate. Not just each other, not just immigrants, not just the press, but truth itself. He has created a world where the other side isn't just wrong, they're evil. They're a threat, they're an enemy. And in that world, anything is justified. Every insult, every name-calling, every threat, every act of violence. This is not accidental. He didn't stumble onto this divide. He drew it with precision. His team painted a picture of us versus them. Real Americans versus traitors. Patriots versus snowflakes. Winners versus losers. And the beauty of that binary to him is that he's always on the winning side. He doesn't heal wounds, he rips them open and pours salt in and then tells you it's someone else's fault. And I'm here to fix it. He doesn't calm the fire. He fans the flames and hands out matches. And every time you think the blaze might die down, he tweets. He lies. He spins the wheel one more time. Because division isn't a byproduct of his rule. It is the rule. For our president, every crisis is a stage. Every camera is a mirror. He doesn't walk into the room to solve the problems. He walks in to be seen. He's not asking, what can I do? He's asking, who's watching? Where is the money shot? Because for him, the presidency was never about public service. It was about prime time. He's an actor. He sells chaos like it's entertainment, because to him it is. He doesn't write laws. He writes catchphrases. He doesn't seek justice. He's looking for applause. He turns press briefings into open mic nights and policies into props. He turned a global pandemic into his daily ratings report. And as the bodies piled up, he asked, how does the media coverage look? How am I looking? How are my ratings? As people mourned, he mused about injecting bleach. What the hell? Tweets over treaties. Tantrums over truth. He governs through impulse, not through intellect. He governs through outrage, not through outcomes. He has played the victim so many times. He plays the savior and he plays the bully. Sometimes all in the same sentence. Not because it makes any sense, but because it makes headlines. He creates emergencies just to declare himself the hero. He manufactures crises like plot twists in a bad reality show. If something isn't burning, he shows up to light the match. If no one's attacking him, he'll invent an enemy. Because nothing seems to terrify Donald Trump more than irrelevance. Quiet days, that's death to a man like that. He needs noise. He needs conflict. He needs intensity. He needs the spotlight to stay hot, even if the rest of the country is burning. He doesn't care if the theater is collapsing, as long as he's still center stage. He's not the president. He's the star of a show with no real script, no direction, no purpose, just raid and spectacle and endless returns of the same damn episode. Policy requires patience, requires thought and insight. It requires the humility to admit that you might not have all the answers. And it certainly requires people who are not racist at heart. It requires people who are not homophobic at heart. He has no patience. He has no humility. He has no answers. Just instincts, ego, and a very loud microphone. We have elected a child. Governing is hard. Performing is easy. And he knows the cameras don't care whether he leads or lies, as long as he stays on our screens. Donald Trump just wants to watch the world burn because he profits from destruction. Not to spite it, because of it. Every disaster is an opportunity for marketing, or perhaps for his new stablecoin. Every tragedy is a merch drop. He doesn't show up to comfort. He shows up to sell. He turned his name into a product and his presidency into a franchise. He didn't walk into the White House with ideas. He walked in with a brand. He slapped his name on the country like he slapped it on steaks and ties and casinos and scam universities. And when the country started to unravel so quickly, he asked, how can I spin this? Not how can I help or how can I stop? He sells this chaos like it's his brand. Red hats, slogans, and lies. He sells anger. He sells victimhood. He sells the illusion that if you're angry enough, loud enough, loyal enough, somehow you'll win too. But the only one cashing the check is him, and everyone else will get the bill for generations to come. Not just in this country, but the whole world. Fear is his currency. He keeps the nation on edge because a fearful crowd is easier to lead and easier to fleece. When people are scared, they'll buy anything. Hope, hate, a red hat. And he's selling all three at full price. Even his supporters don't always agree with him. They just like that he makes people mad. Because he's turned politics into blood sport. Winning isn't about policy, it's about owning the libs. It's about watching the other side suffer. That's the business model. Outrage is the product. And people are lining up for it. He found a way to monetize division. He found a way to turn hate into a subscription service. He doesn't care if the country breaks in half. He doesn't care if it goes to hell, as long as both halves are watching him scream from the center. And it worked. While people lost jobs, he launched grifts. While people buried their loved ones, he held rallies. While Americans searched for leadership, he counted donations. Because for him, disaster isn't a time for unity. It's an opening, a crack in the system where a con man can slip through, set up shop, and start collecting. Donald Trump didn't bring water to the fire. He brought a camera crew. He didn't help rebuild. He sold tickets to the wreckage. And when the lights fade and the smoke clears, he's already counting the clicks. Our president does not see past tomorrow. Because tomorrow's ashes are today's headlines. He doesn't plan, he improvises. He doesn't strategize, he reacts. He doesn't think about the future. He thinks about the next 5 minutes of fame. And after that, someone else will have to clean it up. And if there is a mess to clean up, he'll blame everybody else but himself. He rolls back climate protections while the planet literally burns. Because long-term danger doesn't trend. Sea levels don't vote. Children aren't donors. So he strips the earth bare and calls it business. He sells out the future and cashes in on the present. He has abandoned allies. He praises dictators. And he calls it all strategy. And he thinks strength is found in threats, not alliances. He confuses bullying for diplomacy. He doesn't play chess as some mastermind. He just flips the board and punches the other player and then tells his followers, did you see that? I won. He's not thinking about the next generation. He's thinking about the next election, sadly enough, or the next rally, or the next segment on cable news. He rules by impulse, not principle. He is a completely unprincipled, immoral man. He rules by spite, not substance. He's not planting seeds, he's digging graves. He appears to see governance like a business deal, but with none of the math. He cuts regulations without even reading them. He signs orders without understanding them. He treats complexity like an insult, as if something that takes time, patience, or nuance is boring. Move on. Donald Trump has no vision. He has no real, true, healthy roadmap for this country. He has no coherent ideology. He's just a long trail of broken promises and burning bridges. And somehow he calls it leadership. Somehow millions call it strength. Our country has been so duped en masse. But he's not leading us into the future. He's dragging us backwards through the mud, and he's calling the wreckage progress. And if everything to him is about the now, how are my ratings today, then nothing matters once the camera's shut off. He doesn't care who gets hurt. He doesn't care what's lost. Because if it's not on screen, to him it never happened. So when you ask what he stands for, understand that he stands for nothing. He believes in nothing. And in that vacuum, his hatred and his absurdities are burning brightly. Because when you don't care about the future, you have no reason to hesitate lighting that match. He didn't create the chaos. That's clear. But he did reveal how much we already had. He didn't invent the fire, but he did give it oxygen. The hate was there, the fear was there, just lingering under the surface, like lava under a quiet mountain. The anger, the resentment, the division, all of it was simmering just beneath the surface, and he showed up, and he tore the lid off, and he called it truth. He gave permission to the worst parts of us to scream, to riot, to threaten, to hate our neighbors just because they have a different color skin, or they come from a different country, or they have a different sexuality. He didn't radicalize everyone, although he's done a lot of that. But what he did do is he made it acceptable for the radicals to stop whispering, to stop waiting in the shadows. He told people that were full of hate, you don't have to be ashamed anymore. You don't have to be ashamed of your ignorance, of your cruelty. He said, it's okay. I feel that way too. And suddenly, the country started shouting what used to be said behind closed doors, what used to be considered completely immoral and wrong. He made the truth negotiable, and he made morality completely optional. He didn't need to convince you he was right. He just needed to convince you that no one else was. He didn't have to win hearts. He just had to harden them. And slowly, we forgot our humanity. We forgot how to care about anything but winning. We stopped caring about justice or compassion. We just wanted to beat the other side. He doesn't lie just to mislead, although he does. He lies to see if you'll still follow him anyway. And as we know, millions upon millions do. Because once you accept one lie, the next one is easier. And the one after that, even easier. Again, facts become opinions, and opinions feel like war. He didn't act in isolation. He acted as a mirror to our society. He showed us how quickly institutions fall when no one is willing to defend them. He revealed to us how fast truth unravels when people stop demanding it, how easily hate goes viral when love is quiet. He didn't just show us who he is. He showed us who we are. He wasn't an outlier. He was a symptom of something deeper, something older, something despicable and ugly, something we didn't want to face, until he held it right up in front of us and said, "This is the real America. Look at it, love it, or leave it." He gave voice to the quiet parts, made them now too loud to ignore. He made people pick a side, not based on hope, but on fear. And even when the fire was raging, even when the damage was clear, there were still people who stood there, nodding, cheering, filming, because some people saw the fire and said, "This is dangerous," but others saw it and said, "Finally, someone lit the damn match." And that is the scariest part. Our president speaks lies the way most of us breathe. Naturally, constantly, without effort. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't flinch, because to him, lying isn't a strategy. It's just a default setting. It's a reflex. It's his weapon. He doesn't try to convince you he's telling the truth. He just floods the field with so many lies. You stop trying to find the truth at all. It's just so overwhelming. He doesn't need you to necessarily believe him. He just needs you to stop believing anybody else. And in that context, he's not just bending reality, he's shattering it. And then he hands you the pieces and says, put it together. See if this still makes sense. He doesn't want trust. He wants confusion. Because confused people don't organize. Confused people don't fight back. Confused people cling to the loudest voice, even if it's lying straight to their face. Donald Trump speaks with authority, but not honesty. To him, if you say something loud enough, often enough, with just the right amount of rage, people will start to confuse volume for truth. He's lying to get to a point of domination. He wants to control the narrative, all of them. He wants to own the moment. He wants to rewrite reality and our history in real time. And if you call him out, he doubles down. If you prove him wrong, he attacks you. And if you catch him on tape, he says it was fake. Truth under Trump is not relative. It's irrelevant. Facts aren't debatable. They're disposable. He has gaslit this nation and called it leadership. He has told people the things that they saw and they know have happened, they didn't happen. That what they heard wasn't real. That up was down, that wrong was right. And that he, only he, could tell you what was true, what was not fake news. He has trained millions to trust their gut over their brain, to follow their feelings, not the facts, to believe what feels good to them, even if it's a lie, and even if it's toxic beyond our wildest nightmares. And in that world, where reality is always under attack, where nothing can be verified, no one can be trusted, the truth doesn't just suffer. It dies, silently, unnoticed, almost unmourned. Because when you kill the truth, you can sell anything in its place. A slogan, a scapegoat, a savior. And that's exactly what he did. For Donald Trump, every tragedy is about him. Every win is his alone. There is no we in Trump's America. There's only he. He hijacks every moment, every headline, every breath of grief or glory, and drags it back into his orbit. Even in the face of suffering, he's the one who wants the sympathy. Even at the center of celebration, he needs to be the loudest voice in the room. Donald Trump isn't protecting our country. He's protecting his image, his reflection. He's not guarding our Constitution. He's guarding his brand. And when the country bleeds, as it is daily, he's not asking, how do we stop it? He's just asking, how does this make me look? Or how can I turn this and twist it to look better, or to look like it's not his fault, when so very much of it is directly his fault. He doesn't care if he burns the house down, as long as he's the last one standing in the ashes, because if he can't have it, no one can. If he can't win, the game must be rigged. And if reality contradicts him, then to him reality must be broken. He wants your loyalty, not love. He wants your obedience, not your belief. He doesn't want you to admire him. He wants you to kneel. He doesn't want followers. He wants worshipers. And if you hesitate, you're dead to him. You're gone. Your political career is over. You're just another traitor in a long line of cast-offs. To him, he can't lose. He must not lose, because losing would shatter the illusion, and the illusion is all he has. He wraps himself in gold, but it's fool's gold, and it's hollow. He speaks with swagger, but it's desperation. Behind the bluster is a man terrified of being ordinary, a man who confuses attention with affection, who confuses dominance with respect, who needs constant applause, because silence is unbearable to him. Every disagreement is betrayal. Every critic is an enemy. Every boundary is an insult. And so his ego grows, bloated, brittle, toxic, a true nightmare. So large, he cannot coexist with the truth. He's so fragile, he shatters under scrutiny. He doesn't lift people up. He surrounds himself with flatterers and cowards, spineless fools, people who lie to him because telling the truth means exile, and he likes it that way. He doesn't want real advice. He wants mirrors. He wants people to bow down and say, "You're so right. You're so smart. All glory to King Trump." And in that hall of mirrors, he's the tallest, he's the smartest, he's the strongest, the only voice that matters. But strip away the echo chamber, silence the crowd, take away the cameras, and what's left? A man, alone, yelling into the void. desperate to hear his own name. When Donald Trump ran for office yet again, he was really running from accountability. He wasn't seeking a mandate, he was simply demanding obedience. And elections are not sacred to him. That should be patently obvious to everyone. Elections are not sacred to him. At this point, they're obstacles. Democracy isn't his core value. It's more like a nuisance. It's a relic. It's something to be used if it serves him and his purposes, and discarded if it doesn't. He tried to steal an election and then convinced millions that it was stolen from him. A con so brazen, it didn't even try to hide. He lost. And instead of accepting it, he set the system on fire and called it patriotism. He turned a peaceful transfer of power into a punchline. He turned sore losing into national policy. He didn't just question the results, he questioned the process itself. He said mail-in votes were fraud. He said voting machines were rigged. He said dead people were voting. He said democracy was broken unless he won. And people believed it because he said it enough, loud enough, and with enough rage to make the lie feel like truth. He wrapped himself in the flag while stomping on everything it stands for. He gave his supporters the language of revolution, the symbols of rebellion, and the fantasy of taking back a country that was never stolen. He didn't calm the mob, he summoned it. He didn't stop the violence, he incited it. This man, this monster, calls democracy rigged because it's the only way he can justify losing. Because if he's not the winner, then to him the game must be broken, because in his world, power isn't earned, it's taken. And if you don't give it to him, he'll try to take it anyway. And he didn't break democracy alone. He gave others the hammer. He found the weak points, exploited them, and left them gaping. Then he showed others how to lie boldly, how to rewrite history, and how to question facts without evidence, how to turn the people against their own government, as long as he wasn't the one being blamed. He, in some ways, doesn't want to really lead this nation. He just wants to own it. He wants to brand it. He wants to bend it. He wants to bleed it dry. He doesn't want to protect our democracy. He just wants to remake it in his own image. He's petty. He's vengeful. He's an authoritarian. And the worst part, so many people wanted him to get away with it. And we never believed it could happen here. Until it did. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Donald Trump is not an outlier, he's a symptom. He is a loud, bloated, orange symptom of something that's been festering under the surface of our country for years. And he didn't rise alone, he was lifted. His ideologies were lifted by a party that has surrendered its spine completely, by media outlets that traded truth for clicks and numbers, by voters who didn't care what he broke, as long as it made someone else mad. He didn't act alone. He had cheerleaders in Congress and accomplices on cable news. They didn't stop him. They didn't challenge him when they could have. They enabled him. They handed him the mic. They laughed at the lies. They parroted the poison. They turned complicity into job security. And this horrible nightmare of a man, nightmare of a president, has made rage a business model. And millions bought in. Outrage is addictive. And he kept on feeding it to the masses, and they kept on eating it. He gave people a common enemy and the permission slip to hate as much as they wanted. And the machine ran with it. All the headlines, every spin, every sanitized soundbite. It wasn't really journalism. It was advertising. He didn't have to silence the critics. He just drowned them out with noise, with lies, with distractions, with endless cycles of scandal and denial and fake news, until truth was buried under the volume of it all, and outrage became our national language. Donald Trump wants to watch the world burn, and he lit the match. But we gave him the box. We gave him the airtime. We gave him the platforms. We gave him the benefit of the doubt over and over again as a nation, long after he proved he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve anything. This man deserves to be in prison several times over. Some people in this country didn't want a leader. They wanted a wrecking ball. They wanted to watch the world burn. They wanted a way to legitimize their hatred of their neighbor who was different from them. They wanted someone who would break the system. They wanted someone to shake the foundations, even if it means the roof caves in. And he gave them that. He didn't even have to hide his agenda. He shouted it. He bragged about it. And people just kept on saying, give him a chance. Let him do what he's going to do. And sure enough, the minute that we let him, he showed us exactly who he was. People should not be surprised at what he's done. He told us what he was going to do, and then he did it. And when he lit that match, they kept on clapping. They kept on saluting. They kept on saying, we're sold out to Donald Trump. In some ways, the truth is he did not corrupt the system. He revealed it. He showed us how shallow the guardrails really were. He showed us how shallow we are. He showed us how easy it is to break the rules. And the echoes of what he's done are going to be out there for a long time, still repeating him long after he's gone. They're going to still repeat his mantras. They're going to still imitate him. Others will come in his place when he is done being the president, and they will carry the torch that he left burning. This nightmare has to stop, and we have to do our best to move our country away from this fire. When the day comes in the future for Donald Trump to leave the White House, when he drives away from the Capitol for the last time, the fire won't go out. The smoke will still linger, and the embers will still glow, and the damage will be everywhere. Donald Trump will not have built bridges. He will have only burnt them. Our allies will be abandoned, as they already are. These institutions will be gutted, as they are now. The norms of our country, the sanity, will be trampled upon. He will not have left a legacy. He will have left a crater. And people will be digging through the rubble, still pretending that the collapse was construction. This president has not just damaged the norms. He has made scorched earth look like a policy plan. And as he tears down systems, replacing them with slogans, and he's broken our faith in our democracy, he just calls it a victory lap. He has turned politics into a zero-sum demolition derby. This is not about policy. This is not about principle. This is about destruction, domination, carnage in a red tie. He is leaving behind a blueprint for chaos, and millions are ready to follow it. He has taught people how to lie, how to hate, how to threaten, how to deny reality and twist the law into a shield. And worst of all, he is showing people that it works. He has made public service in office into a punchline, and his shadow will stretch far beyond his time in office. Because once you normalize the fire, you forget what the room used to look like before it started burning. The damage that he's doing isn't just political, it's personal. Families torn apart, literally. Friendships fractured. People radicalized, isolated, weaponized. This man is not bringing policy. He's bringing trauma on a national and global scale. And every time we think we've moved on, every time we think we're possibly safe, he pops back up and does more damage. On screen, on stage, on ballot. He never wanted to lead. He wanted to linger. In our memory, in the headlines, in fear. He doesn't have to be empowered to be in control. The system will still bear the scars. The people will still bear the damage for generations to come. The fire is smoldering. He will fan it into flames many times during his presidency, and long after he's gone, it will still be smoldering. That is his legacy. So where does this leave us? In the aftermath, in the smoke. In a country that's not just trying to survive a fire, but learning how quickly it spreads. Learning how many people will run toward it just to feel something, just to belong to something, even if that something is pure destruction. We are living in the shadow of a man who arrogantly, foolishly turns chaos into our daily lived experience. And now we're standing in what's left, watching even more of it disappear day by day. We feel the ache of the pain that has been shattered, and we know still will be shattered more. The institutions bruised and battered and destroyed. The families split up, the friendships gone. The silence that grew so loud that it drowned out the truth. His legacy is not just a moment, 4 years here, 4 years there. It's a blueprint. It's a roadmap for the next person who decides democracy is too slow, too boring, too inconvenient for their ambitions. And once a nation learns or decides that rules are optional, that shame is outdated, that truth is negotiable, it becomes really hard to unlearn that. We can't say we didn't see it coming. We did see it. We just didn't believe it could win. But it did. It won by distracting us, by exhausting us, by making us fight each other so hard. We didn't notice the walls closing in. The nightmare has won by turning truth into a debate and by making our nation's policies ones of cruelty. Absolute, insane cruelty on a level that's unprecedented and downright inhumane. The false narrative won by selling our country the lie that strength is found in being loud, that if you're enraged, you must be a good leader, and that power is only real if someone else is bleeding. Fire doesn't rebuild. Fire doesn't repair. Fire doesn't forgive. People do that. We do that. We name the damage. We speak the truth, especially when it's ugly. We stop treating democracy like it's a permanent feature and start protecting it like it's a fragile gift, because it is fragile, perhaps more than we ever imagined. And yet we can't let fear win. Fear is what he fed. Fear is what he sold. Fear is how he kept us divided, distracted, disoriented. We have to pursue clarity and courage, the clarity to recognize what happened, to say it plainly, to call it what it is, that a president has tried and is trying every day to burn it all down, and that millions have helped him light that match over and over again. We have to have the courage to admit it wasn't just him. It was us as a nation. It was our systems. It was our apathy. It was our hunger for conflict and comfort and easy answers. He didn't just hijack America, although he did. He also exposed it. And if we don't want to go back to this nightmare when it's over, if we want something better, we have to be better. We have to demand more from our leaders, from our media, from each other, from ourselves. We have to stop mistaking cruelty for authenticity. We have to stop rewarding volume over vision. We need to stop handing microphones to arsonists and then being surprised when everything catches fire. Democracy doesn't just die when a dictator takes over. It dies when people decide it's not worth the fight. When they say that's just how it is now. But it doesn't have to be. Democracy isn't self-cleaning. It isn't self-sustaining. It doesn't heal without effort. It doesn't survive without defenders. And in the end, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of people are we and who do we want to be? Are we the ones who watch the fire spread, cheering it from the sidelines, blaming someone else for the smoke? Or are we going to be the ones who say, not again, not this time, not on our watch? Because yes, some people just want to watch the world burn, But others fight for the rebuild. Others carry the water to put the fire out. They show up day after day, not for applause, but because they remember that this place, this country, this land, and the people in it can be something amazing. And we refuse to let one man or one movement reduce it to ashes. We will dig through the ashes and find the bones of what matters. We will carry forward what is true, even if it's covered in soot, even if it's scarred, even if it hurts. We will remind each other clearly, relentlessly, that fire might be loud, but it is not final. And if we choose silence in this moment, silence is not peace, it's surrender. So speak. Speak even if it makes you shake to speak up. Speak especially when it makes you shake, because this time we can't just walk away. This time we don't just let them keep lighting matches. The fire happened. It happened here in our country, and we saw it, and we see it every day. And now comes the part that matters most. What do we do after the smoke? It is time to choose where our country goes. It is time to say Donald Trump's nightmare cannot be our future anymore. It is time to choose rationality, to choose a national discussion of care and respect for immigrants, for people of color, for people of different sexualities. This is our time to shine. This is our time to show the world that we are better than Donald Trump. This is our time to change the culture. You are on the culture change team for our country and for our world. Dream bigger than their nightmares. Vote better than their hatred. We can do this. We must do this for the next generation. Thank you for listening.